Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are focusing on voice technology, but we're looking far past the basics. I mean, we are well beyond the days when a voice interface was just about, telling your phone to set a timer or play a song. Now, voice user interfaces, or VUIs, they're being integrated into some truly complex systems. We're talking about virtual assistants helping nurses manage patient loads in hospitals, or smart IVRs handling, high-stakes financial transactions. So when the user journey is inherently complex, when there are high-stakes, multi-step processes, jargon, how do you design a voice interface that doesn't just recognize words, but actually understands the intent behind them? Our mission today is to cut through all that noise and give you the 5 core principles for designing these sophisticated, often messy VUIs.
And that idea of intuition is just everything here. An intuitive voice interface has to feel, well, natural, predictive, and completely frictionless. It can't force you to memorize exact commands. And what's really fascinating is that to do this, the system has to adapt to 4 things at once: the user's intent, the context of where they are, their accent or speech patterns, and this is the really advanced part, their emotional tone or urgency.
Wow, okay. That's a staggering requirement to process someone's emotional state on top of their actual words.
It is, but it's essential for things like safety and efficiency.
Right.
I mean, think about how Alexa or Google Home sometimes anticipate what you might need. That kind of awareness has to be the absolute baseline for a high-stakes system, whether it's in a hospital or a bank.
Okay, so let's start with the source of the problem then, complexity. While a VUI handles simple commands just fine, the source material really highlights how sectors like healthcare, wealth management, and global travel present these major hurdles. What challenges do users actually face in these environments?
Right.
It really boils down to 4 distinct complexities that go way beyond simple word recognition. First, the user is often trying to do a multi-step task. It's never just file a claim.
Right.
It's file a claim, then specify the deductible, select your payment preference, verify an address, attach a document. That kind of sequential logic is just very, very difficult for a VUI to track perfectly. And second, users have to navigate huge menus or data sets verbally. They don't have visual cues to rely on, so they're exploring information just by talking. Saying something like, find the investment product with the highest quarterly yield from Q3 last year is an incredibly complex command.
And people almost never speak in perfect query language. They use half-thoughts, misremembered terms.
Exactly. That's the third complexity. Users rely on jargon or uncertain phrasing. They might sort of approximate the name of a medication or the exact title of an insurance policy. The system has to be able to tolerate that and clarify it, not just give up. And the fourth one, which is critical, is topic switching, right in the middle of a conversation.
Yep. A user might be booking a flight, then suddenly remember they need to change their seat preference for a totally different flight, and then they need to jump right back to the original booking without losing their place. Basic systems just completely fall apart there.
And the second the system loses context, the user has to repeat themselves. That's the moment they hang up. So this really clarifies why we need a new playbook. Let's dive into that architecture, the 5 design principles you need to overcome this.
Absolutely. This is really the heart of effective VUI design for complex situations. So principle number 1 is context retention. This directly solves that topic switching problem we just mentioned. The VUI has to have a robust memory, basically.
Letting users jump between tasks.
Exactly. Or pick up exactly where they left off without restarting the whole flow. The system has to act like a human assistant who actually remembers your train of thought.
Okay, but when you're dealing with private health records or sensitive financial data, how do you handle the security and privacy of retaining all that context? Is it persistent? Or just for that one interaction?
That's the real implementation challenge, right? For security, context is usually kept inside a defined session. It often expires after some inactivity, unless you're securely logged into a profile. But within that session, the VUI has to recognize phrasing like, remind me about that medication thing again. It doesn't need all the details repeated. It just needs a topic marker to pull up that history. That's the efficiency game.
That leads perfectly into principle 2, which is guided prompts. Because you want the system to feel flexible, but you can't just leave the user guessing what to do next.
Correct. The prompts need to be smart. They set helpful boundaries without feeling rigid or, condescending. Instead of a super open-ended question like, tell me what you want, which can be paralyzing, it offers to find paths.
For example,
Something like, I see you're trying to access your account. I can help you book an appointment or check your records. Which would you like to start with? It gives the user control while narrowing the possibilities.
so it's structure, just disguised as helpfulness.
Precisely. Which brings us to principle 3, fallback strategies. Designers have to accept that failure, the system misunderstanding the user, is going to happen, especially with accents or background noise.
And when it does happen, the system needs a good plan B.
Yes, we've all had that terrible IVR experience. I'm sorry, I didn't understand that. Goodbye.
The absolute worst, a total brick wall.
Exactly. A good VUI avoids that. A strong fallback is like a polite apology and a clear alternative. I didn't catch the full medication name. Would you like me to repeat the last three options? Or would you like to speak to a representative now? It always gives you an exit ramp or a clear way to try again.
Okay, now for the really sophisticated part.
Hmm.
Principle 4, adaptive flow logic. This sounds like where the VUI stops being just a program and starts feeling, well, predictive.
This is where the system uses all that context and tone we talked about. The VUI has to respond differently based on your past usage, any urgency it detects in your voice, or even environmental factors. It's personalized workflow management, but with voice.
But what if the data conflicts? Let's say the system hears high urgency in your tone, but your history shows you're a brand new user. Which data point does it prioritize?
That is the engineering puzzle. Generally, in high-stakes fields like healthcare, detected urgency will almost always trigger a shift in the flow. It might jump straight to contacting a human or confirming one critical action to minimize input.
And in lower stakes areas, like banking.
There, your history often wins out. For example, if you say, schedule my usual appointment, and the system sees you do the same thing every month, it just skips all the questions and asks, I see you've scheduled this before, want to repeat the same process. The system is always trying to reduce your cognitive load.
That would dramatically increase how intelligent the system feels.
And finally, principle 5 is confirmations without annoyance. You have to have confirmation in high-stakes transactions, you must be certain, but hearing, are you sure, over and over is maddening. So the confirmation should only focus on the critical action, not every single word you spoke. A good confirmation for a prescription refill would be succinct. Got it. You'd like to refill your prescription for losartan 50 milligrams. Shall I continue? That specificity reduces error without being tedious.
So we've gone from simple input-output to these 5 really nuanced design requirements. Let's connect this back to some tangible applications. Why is this level of design so critical now?
In the real world, this sophistication translates directly into efficiency, safety, and, really importantly, accessibility. Take healthcare. These complex voice assistants aren't just a convenience. They're vital for managing medication schedules for elderly patients who might not use apps easily. And we often forget the accessibility part for people with physical challenges or even temporary injuries. The source material specifically mentions someone with a hand fracture. That person can't type or use a touchscreen. But a good VUI lets them manage their insurance, medical records, or finances entirely through speech. It removes a huge physical barrier, and it only works if the VUI can handle that multi-step complexity we talked about.
That's a really powerful example. And how does this look in finance?
In financial services, smart IVRs are key. They accelerate complex tasks that usually lead to endless, frustrating button pushing. Imagine being able to navigate investment options or file a detailed claim just by speaking naturally to a system that remembers what you're talking about. It's a massive shift in customer experience.
And I imagine travel is another big one.
Oh, absolutely. In travel and hospitality, you have multilingual voice kiosks for self-check-in or booking changes. The system has to understand a fragmented request like, I need to change my connection from Rome to Madrid and add an extra day to the hotel booking in Paris. That relies so heavily on context retention and adaptive flow logic.
With all this complexity, it must require some intense testing. How do designers make sure these systems actually work reliably for everyone, with all the different accents and emotional cues?
The testing has to be just as rigorous as the design. The sources emphasize 4 key strategies. First, you have to run usability tests with diverse accents and across different age groups. That's non-negotiable. Second, you have to simulate noisy, real-world environments. A VUI that works in a quiet lab might fail completely in a busy airport or a chaotic hospital.
If the system can't hear you, it can't adapt to you.
Exactly right. Third, teams must rigorously log user drop-offs, track those frustration points. The data showing where people gave up tells you exactly where your adaptive flow logic or your fallback strategy is broken.
And the fourth?
Use analytics to constantly refine things like prompt timing and the fallback options themselves. The system gets smarter not just from success, but from analyzing the failures.
So if we step back from all this, what's the ultimate takeaway? It really sounds like designing complex VUI isn't just about code. It's more like applied behavioral science.
It's the ultimate exercise in being human, really. Designing these things is about anticipating needs, adapting in real time, and just relentlessly focusing on reducing the user's mental effort. The goal is to remove friction. And when teams blend that human-centered design with the technical expertise, you get systems that build loyalty and create huge efficiencies.
That brings us to the close of this deep dive. The shift we've seen from VUI as a simple command tool to this adaptive, context-retaining system that handles the messiness of human interaction, it's a complete game changer.
And that messy human interaction is the perfect place to leave you with a thought. We discussed how Principle 4, adaptive flow logic, can rely on sensing a user's emotional tone or urgency. So if successful design depends on detecting when a user is stressed or anxious, and then changing its behavior based on that, what are the consequences? I mean, if the system detects high stress, should it always default to a human? Or should it try to accelerate the digital process to get it over with faster? That decision itself is a critical design choice in high-stakes environments. There's a huge tension there between efficiency and safety for you to mull over.
A really profound point. Deciding how to ethically use detected emotion when the stakes are high is definitely the next frontier. Thank you for joining us on the deep dive. We hope this shortcut helps you navigate the complex world of voice user experience. We'll talk to you next time.